Texas unfolds itself under a vast, unending sky. It is a land of dramatic contrasts. The sun rises, painting the horizon in shades of fire and rose. Golden light spills across rolling hills, where ancient oaks stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time. Wildflowers, in a riot of blue, red, and yellow, blanket the fields in spring. The air is alive with the hum of insects and the distant call of a hawk circling high above. This is a landscape that speaks of immensity, of freedom, and of a powerful, untamed spirit. It promises opportunity, a place where dreams can take root and grow as tall as the endless sky. Along the coast, the Gulf of Mexico breathes a slow, steady rhythm. Its warm, salty waters lap against shores of fine sand and resilient marsh grasses. Here, life thrives in abundance. Herons stand motionless, their sharp eyes scanning the shallows for a flicker of movement. The wind, a constant companion, carries the scent of brine and the cries of gulls. Inland, great rivers like the Brazos and the Rio Grande carve their patient paths through the earth. Their waters reflect the deep blue of the sky, offering life to the cottonwood trees that line their banks and the creatures that come to drink from their slow-moving currents. Even the cities here are born of this expansive spirit. Towers of glass and steel reach for the heavens, glinting in the powerful Texan sun. They are monuments to human ambition, centers of commerce and culture that draw people from all corners of the globe. At night, they transform into constellations of artificial light, their glow visible for miles across the flat plains. The endless hum of traffic is the city's heartbeat, a sound of perpetual motion and relentless energy. This is a land built on the idea of progress, of moving forward into a brighter future. But this land of stark beauty and boundless promise holds its secrets close. Beneath the surface of its vibrant life, a different story is unfolding. It is a quiet narrative, one that begins in the shadows cast by the gleaming towers and at the frayed edges of the sprawling plains. As the sun sets, casting long, dark fingers across the landscape, a subtle change can be felt. The wind carries a different kind of whisper, a sound of unease that mingles with the rustling leaves and the distant city drone. A new ecosystem, one born of hardship and necessity, is taking hold. If you're captivated by the hidden stories and striking contrasts of Texas, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Stay with us as we continue to explore the unseen sides of the Lone Star State. Along the forgotten edges of the landscape, a new kind of settlement appears. It begins subtly, a single tent, tucked away beneath the concrete arms of a freeway overpass. A makeshift shelter constructed from discarded tarps and scavenged wood, hidden within a thicket of brush near a riverbed. At first, they are almost invisible, blending into the urban and natural environments. They are quiet outposts, easily overlooked by those who travel the well-worn paths. But these are not temporary campsites. They are the first signs of a growing phenomenon, a quiet encroachment upon the land. Slowly, but with a relentless certainty, these solitary structures begin to multiply. One tent becomes 2, then 10, then 100. They cluster together, forming sprawling communities that seem to rise from the earth overnight. They follow the contours of the land, lining creeks and drainage ditches, spreading across vacant lots and unused industrial parks. From a distance, they appear as a patchwork of muted colors against the green and brown of the earth. They are a stark, man-made addition to a landscape that once seemed so pure and untouched, a visible testament to a silent crisis. The scale of this change is staggering. What were once isolated pockets of need have grown into vast, complex networks. These encampments are now a feature of the Texan landscape, as much a part of the modern scenery as the oil derricks and the longhorn cattle. They exist in a strange limbo, neither fully part of the city nor separate from it. They are worlds within worlds, existing in the spaces between. The sound of the wind whistling through the nylon fabric of 100 tents is a new and haunting chorus in the Texan symphony, a melody of survival and desperation. The inhabitants of these new territories move with a quiet purpose. They are ghosts in their own land, often unseen by the society that rushes past them on the highways above. They navigate their world with a knowledge born of necessity, knowing where to find water, where to seek shelter from the punishing sun, and where to find a moment of peace. The growth of these camps is a slow, creeping tide. It changes the very geography of the state, redrawing the maps to include these new, unofficial territories of human struggle and resilience, hidden in plain sight. Within these fragile communities, life continues in its most fundamental form. Each tent, each makeshift dwelling holds a story. There are no names shared here, no histories recounted in grand detail. There is only the quiet dignity of the present moment. A man with weathered hands meticulously mends a tear in his tarp, his focus absolute. He works with the precision of a craftsman, his shelter a testament to his will to endure. Nearby, a woman sweeps the packed earth in front of her tent with a makeshift broom, creating a small patch of order amidst the surrounding chaos. These are small acts of defiance against despair. The sounds of life here are muted, yet profound. A dog, a faithful companion, barks at a passing shadow. The soft murmur of a conversation floats from a nearby tent, a brief and precious moment of human connection. Someone plays a battered guitar, the simple chords rising into the evening air, a melody of sorrow and of hope. These are the sounds of a community, however unconventional. They are the whispers that tell of a shared experience, a bond forged in the crucible of hardship. Each sound is a reminder that life, in its most resilient form, persists. Families, too, find themselves in this precarious world. A mother watches her child draw patterns in the dust with a stick, her face a mixture of love and deep, unspoken worry. She tries to create a world of normalcy for her little one, a bubble of safety in a world that offers none. A simple, shared meal becomes a feast. A story told under the stars becomes an epic adventure. These parents are warriors, fighting a daily battle to protect their children's innocence, to shield them from the harsh realities that surround them on all sides. Their love is a fierce and powerful force. Every individual here carries the weight of a past and the hope for a future. An older man sits alone, his gaze fixed on the horizon, his thoughts a private country. He has seen more of life's storms than most. A young woman reads a worn paperback, its pages a temporary escape from the relentless present. She dreams of a different life, a different world, one that exists beyond the canvas walls of her temporary home. These are not statistics, they are human beings, each with a unique and powerful story, whispered on the wind for anyone who is willing to stop and listen. A new shadow has fallen upon these communities, a danger more insidious than the heat of the sun or the chill of the winter wind. It is a chemical tide, a silent scourge that washes through the encampments, leaving devastation in its wake. This substance, known as fentanyl, is a powerful and deceptive predator. It promises a momentary escape from pain, from fear, from the crushing weight of a life lived on the margins. But its promise is a lie. It is a siren's call that leads only to deeper despair and all too often to a final tragic silence. The impact of this substance is profound and far-reaching. It preys on the vulnerable, exploiting the very human desire to numb physical and emotional suffering. A person struggling with the chronic pain of an old injury, with no access to medical care, may see it as a desperate solution. Another, haunted by trauma and loss, may seek its temporary oblivion. It is a cruel and opportunistic poison, finding its way into the hands of those who have the least to lose. Its presence turns a crisis of poverty and housing into a crisis of life and death, accelerating a downward spiral. The consequences are visible in the quiet grief that permeates the camps. A tent that was once occupied now stands empty, its flaps rustling in the wind. A space in the community, once filled by a voice and a story, is now a void. The survivors are left to mourn in silence, their loss unacknowledged by the world outside. The fear is palpable. Every day brings a new risk, a new uncertainty. The substance is unpredictable, its potency varying wildly from one batch to the next. Every use is a gamble with impossibly high stakes, a game of Russian roulette played with a chemical bullet. This scourge does not discriminate. It affects the young and the old, men and women, people from all walks of life who have found themselves in this desperate situation. It erodes the bonds of community, sowing mistrust and paranoia where solidarity once grew. It steals futures, erases potential, and leaves a trail of broken lives and shattered families. It is a battle fought not with weapons but with chemistry, and its casualties are the most vulnerable among us. This silent tide is a tragic complication to an already complex problem, a new and deadly threat in the struggle for survival. Life in these encampments is a constant negotiation with the elements. The Texas sun, which paints the sky with such beauty, becomes a relentless oppressor. In the summer months, temperatures inside a tent can soar to unbearable levels. Shade is a precious commodity, a temporary reprieve sought under bridges or beneath the sparse canopy of a struggling tree. Water is life, and the search for it is a daily quest. The sound of a distant river or the sight of a public spigot can mean the difference between endurance and collapse. Survival depends on an intimate knowledge of the environment's cruelties and its small mercies. When the weather turns, new challenges arise. A sudden thunderstorm can transform a dry creek bed into a raging torrent, washing away tents, belongings, and the fragile sense of security that has been so carefully constructed. The wind, that ever-present voice of the plains, can become a destructive force, tearing at tarps and threatening to flatten entire shelters. In winter, the cold seeps through the thin canvas walls, a persistent, biting chill that gnaws at the bones. The inhabitants must become meteorologists, constantly watching the sky, reading the signs, and preparing for the next assault from the natural world. These communities exist in a space between the wild and the civilized, and they attract life from both realms. Coyotes, adaptable and opportunistic, sometimes slip through the camps at night, their yips and howls a wild chorus against the city's distant hum. Raccoons and opossums become frequent visitors, drawn by the scent of food. These encounters are a reminder that the boundary between the human world and the natural world is thin here. The inhabitants are not just living on the edge of society, they are living on the edge of the wilderness that still claims pockets of the urban landscape. The human environment is just as unpredictable. The roar of traffic from a nearby highway is a constant, inescapable soundtrack. The sudden flash of headlights can illuminate a tent's interior, a stark reminder of the lack of privacy and the constant exposure. The world outside moves at a frantic pace, oblivious to the slow, patient rhythm of life within the camp. The people here are caught between these two worlds, the relentless, often harsh cycles of nature, and the indifferent, fast-paced machinery of the modern city. Their fragile shelters are the only thing that stands between them and the full force of both. Even in the deepest shadows, glimmers of light persist. The human spirit, in its remarkable resilience, refuses to be extinguished. Hope is a fragile but tenacious thing, and it can be found in the most unexpected places. It is found in the simple act of sharing a bottle of water on a scorching day. It is present in the laughter that erupts, sudden and surprising, between two friends. It is visible in the carefully tended plants that grow in makeshift containers, a splash of green and life against a backdrop of dust and concrete. These are not grand gestures, but they are powerful echoes of an unyielding will to live. The capacity for compassion and ingenuity is a defining characteristic of life in these communities. When a storm threatens, neighbors help neighbors secure their shelters. When someone falls ill, others check in, offering what little comfort they can. A shared battery pack becomes a communal resource for charging phones, a vital link to the outside world and to distant family. They have created their own social safety nets, woven from threads of shared experience and mutual need. This is a testament to the fundamental human instinct to form communities, to care for one another, especially when no one else will. The land itself seems to offer a final quiet lesson. A single wildflower, pushing its way through a crack in the pavement, becomes a powerful symbol. It is a reminder that life can find a way to bloom in the harshest of environments. The river, which can be a source of destruction, is also a source of life, its steady flow a metaphor for the constant passage of time and the possibility of change. The vast Texas sky, with its daily spectacle of sunrise and sunset, speaks of new beginnings, and the promise that even the darkest night will eventually give way to morning. Ultimately, this is a story about all of us. The shadows that have fallen over the Lone Star State are a reflection of a deeper challenge, a test of our collective conscience. The future of these unseen communities and the individuals who inhabit them is not yet written. Their resilience is a powerful force, but it cannot last forever without support. The call for compassion echoes across the plains, carried on the same wind that rustles through the tents and whispers through the tall grasses. The question that remains is whether we, as a society, have the wisdom and the heart to finally listen,